This time I turn Jupiter and Saturn into robot monsters. First planet in this video today is Jupiter. Now Jupiter is the biggest planet that we have in our solar system, and it is 786 million kilometers from the sun. Now that makes it the fifth planet from the sun as well, and it is nothing but gas, hence the name. It's called the gas giant. Now Jupiter has strips of cold and windy clouds that are just full of ammonia and water floating in its atmosphere, and also it is made up of hydrogen and helium as well. Now, scientists don't know if Jupiter has a core. They're only speculating because they cannot send anything down into it. The closest thing that they dropped into Jupiter's atmosphere only made it about 120 miles down, and before it broke up and just disintegrated. So they just don't know if there is a solid core. But they reckon if there is a core, it'd only be the size of Earth. Now, a day on Jupiter only lasts 10 Earth hours, and it takes 12 Earth years to complete a full orbit around the sun. So that means that a year on Jupiter is 12 Earth years. Now Jupiter has more than 75 moons. Jupiter's main moons are Io, Europa, Ganymede, and Callisto. Now there's a massive gravity competition going on between Jupiter and its moons, because Jupiter is trying to pull its moons to it, and they couldn't work out why the moons of Jupiter were so hot in the center, and it's because of the friction of the gravity of Jupiter just pulling and pushing, and just making these moons just flex and creating heat in the center. So eventually Jupiter will pull all its moons into itself and just destroy them. Now Jupiter has a very faint ring around it. It's not as noticeable as Saturn, but it definitely does have a ring. And Jupiter has a red spot that is its famous red spot, and it's absolutely enormous, and it's actually a storm that's been raging for centuries. Like, it is just hundreds of thousands of years old, this storm. Now, what I love about Jupiter is Jupiter protects us. It's like the filter of the solar system, because what happens is any comets or meteorites that come spearing into our solar system and are heading for Earth, Jupiter's gravity is so massive that it extends out to basically Saturn. And what it does is it grabs everything and either brings it into itself to destroy, or it flings it back out the other side and flings it out of the solar system. So I thought that was super cool, and that's why I called Jupiter the filter of our solar system, because it protects Earth. It really does. Like, if we did not have Jupiter, Earth would not be here. We would have had just way too many comets and meteorites that would have destroyed Earth. Now, another cool fact about Jupiter is its bands. The storms and the bands that rotate around Jupiter, they actually go in different directions. Like, you'll have one band that'll be clockwise, and then the band directly under it is going anti-clockwise. Now this is just crazy, and Jupiter is just a massive mystery, and it's awesome. It's really an awesome planet, and it's a very strong, very big presence in our solar system, and that's what I made this illustration about. I really wanted to make Jupiter a very robust looking robot monster whereas his main body is a robot, but his head and his little tail that comes out from underneath the metal casing is very sort of like leathery, and he's a bit of a Frankenstein looking monster with this big one eye that represents the big red spot. And yeah, he looks very simple, and that's what I love about him. And I find, like, looking at Jupiter's a very sort of simple looking planet, even though there's a lot of storms raging on it, but it's just such a big presence, and it doesn't need to be pretty, it doesn't need to have anything fancy. It just does what it does, and it does it with a big presence. So that is Jupiter complete. Now we move on to Saturn. Saturn is up next, and Saturn is our prettiest planet in our solar system. It's the 6th planet from our sun, and it is 1.5 billion kilometers from our sun. Now, obviously, the most notable thing about Saturn is its beautiful cold rocky rings, which are just chunks of ice and cold rock that just spin around Saturn. Now, Saturn is another gas giant. Now, it's our second biggest planet in the solar system, and it has an atmosphere consisting of hydrogen and helium, and also it has no solid surface that they know of. Now, one day on Saturn is about 10.7 hours, and 1 year on Saturn is 29 Earth years. Now, Saturn has 82 moons. About 29 haven't officially been confirmed yet, but the most popular moons are Enceladus and Titan. And they've actually mulled over the idea of Titan supporting life. But the biggest problem with Titan is it's very cold. So to live on Titan, they reckon the atmosphere is pretty close, and they could terraform it if they wanted to. But yeah, you'd have to be a special kind of person to live on Titan. Now, Saturn's colour is like a beachy sort of sandy colour with some yellows and oranges and even some pinks, and I reckon I've even seen a hint of green in some photos of Saturn. But Saturn is quite curious because Saturn has a hexagon, a perfect hexagon at its north pole, and they don't know how to explain it. It glows this blue, and you know what my theory is? It's something very extraterrestrial's going on there. So I don't know, but yeah, they reckon it's been there for millions of years, but they just cannot explain this perfect blue hexagon on Saturn's north pole. Saturn's very beautiful, so what I really want to do with this illustration was capture like Saturn as a female, to just give Saturn a very sort of feminine look. And I sort of wanted to go a bit round, and that's why I did a sort of a round body with a tail, because I really wanted to keep that round look for all the planets. But I sort of didn't do as round as I would usually do, because I don't know, when I go in to do these drawings, it's how I see the planet as a robot monster, and this is how I saw Saturn. I saw Saturn just completely different to the others, and I just didn't want to make her completely round, so I didn't. but she's got this one arm, like she is, her arm is mechanical and her body is the monster, but she's got a helmet on her head, but she's also, her body is not really a proper body, it's more of a monster skin, and she was really sort of more mechanical underneath her body. But it's all like this mystery, like, you know, what does she look like inside? Because we don't know. These planets, we don't know what they look like inside because they cannot send anything inside to see if these planets have an interior, if they've got a core. So I did the ring around her head for the icy, rocky rings, and then I did like this beautiful, like, rocky swirl. I was just feeling that sort of thing for her, and then I couldn't help myself but to put the blue hexagon at the top of her head, and it looks like a halo, so it looks like she's, you know, she's like a little angel. She's an angel planet, a monster robot. Well, that is Saturn complete. And hopefully you enjoyed this video. By all means, try this yourself. Try drawing all the planets of how you think the planets would look if they were robot monsters, or if they were something else that you would like to draw them in. And I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.